My biggest takeaway podcast.
All right. Welcome to the show, Casey.
Hello.
All right, how are you doing today?
Doing well. It's a Friday.
It
So,
is a Friday.
yes. Yes. So,
All right. And so you've been in the coaching space for quite some time now. How many years you been in it?
in many different facets and ways for about 10 years now.
Okay. And you are past the solopreneur at this point, right? How many people you got working for you?
Well, we actually made a transition with our own business recently. So we were up to about 10 to 11 people at once. And we actually restructured things for a few really great reasons. Did have to let go of a few really great people, and it was a very sad process, but much needed. And now we're down to about 5 people right now. So,
Okay.
yeah,
And so do you care to dive into why you downgraded?
yeah, of course. Multiple different reasons why. Um, I just like the honest transparency of it, getting to like the real stuff.
Yeah.
I was just getting to a point in my business where I was feeling very unfulfilled.
Mm,
I was feeling really burned out, like something that I've known definitively since I after I graduated college of what I wanted to do was to help people, is to help coach people. I wanted to light it all on fire. Like I was just so burned out and I felt misaligned with the business and what I truly wanted to do. I
mhm.
think what happened honestly is that we just grew too fast. It went from 0 to 100. When I
Yeah.
first started the business, I it was me and maybe 20 clients. That was it. And then all of a sudden, I had clients pouring in, had to hire really fast, and we just scaled so fast. And it's like one of those things where you take like a straight line, but you take one slight little turn off. Eventually, you're going to be miles off in the long run if you
That's
don't
right.
make an adjustment. And I think that's what happened. It's just we want made one slight adjustment here and there, and all of a sudden, a couple years in, and I'm like so misaligned with my business. So I took a step back and really defined how did I want to run my business? How did I want to service my clients? How did I also want to live my life as well? Another huge transition too is when I first made this business, I wasn't in a very good space personally. I was in a struggling marriage. I was also just one of my ways of coping with stress and being unhappy is working. I just want to dive into business.
I know
And
that.
so, yeah. And one of the things I was willing to do before was to spend ungodly amounts of hours working. I was completely okay with that. It was my escape. Now, fast forward to now, um I like divorced. I'm in a happy relationship with my boyfriend, and I'm loving living my life, and I don't want to run away from it anymore. And so now those things I was willing to do are no longer on the table now because I've just evolved as a person.
Mhm.
So, with that perspective of feeling misaligned and also doing things that make me extremely unhappy, I was starting to not like what I was doing. So, again, going back to the drawing board of what would make me happy, what am I willing to do for my business? How do I want to build my business to be long term? And just be honest with you, the amount of people that we had on staff, our services started to get watered down because I
Mm,
was being spread so thin trying to
yeah.
do quality control. The way that we coach people is not like a lot of other people. We're very, very hands on, and
Mm,
we're able to do some really great things that most people can't do in terms of a functional aspect. And I also have a trained coach that can help with trauma and really, really bad relationships with food and
mm,
collaborate with therapists. It's really cool. But with that level of services, you've got to like, it's a very long time of nurturing your people to be able to provide that. And so again, we scaled so fast that we had people on staff that are great coaches but just weren't quite there yet. And then I was being spread thin. And we were just doing things on the back end that we just didn't need to. We were focusing on things that we didn't need to be focusing on. We just needed to focus on our clients. That was the big thing. And so, with that perspective and sitting down as a team, we figured out the answer is actually to downgrade, to bring down to our core people that really provide a high level service, restructure things to simplify it. So there's not so many back end stuff. We focus on what makes us feel fulfilled and happy. And that transition was very painful because I did have to let go some amazing people that I absolutely enjoyed being on the staff. But
Isn't like firing people fun? Isn't that amazing?
it's a
It's
double edged
so
sword.
hard,
It's a double
right?
edged
It's
sword.
so hard.
It's a double edged sword because you have to like talk to the person, but on the other side, like you feel relief because you know it's the right, if you do it right, like it should be for the right decision. So you feel
Sure.
relief, but it is horrible. I want to pass that responsibility off. I hate that. I cry. I will fully admit that. I cry when I fire people because I just love on people. I don't like it. I'll do it, but I hate it.
Yeah.
So it
It,
was a very painful transition. And there was some leadership stuff that I had to grow. I had to own
mm,
my own part of things and what I could do to get better. Even though we do have thriving on, again, we blew up really fast. Like it was 0 to 100. I had no idea what I was doing majority of the time.
yeah.
Total chicken that with the head cut off, running around just trying to figure things out. I still feel like that today. So it was a lot of growth of learning how I could get better as a leader, how I could better serve my staff and my clients. And again, it was very painful and it was hard, but coming on the other side of this, I don't want to light things on fire. Like I'm actually really happy waking up and helping people. I feel so much more aligned with who I am now and where I want the business to go. So it's been a wild ride, but that's a long circle around to answer your question right
Yeah,
there. So
absolutely. So I find that in business, right? I've been doing this a long time. Um, I find that there is a balance that every individual has, and it's custom to each person. When we factor in, to me, three big numbers: time that we want to work inside the business, gross
Mhm,
income, profit.
mhm,
You can gross all day, work your ass off, and make the same amount of profit if you did half of the work with half the clients and half the coaches and half the staff,
mhm,
right? We just don't get to say, here's our big dangling number that we did gross, right?
mhm.
And so I've gone through both of those phases, and I'll find myself wish-washy depending on what I want. Today I want to build an empire, and tomorrow I want to go to Cabo, right? So it is interesting to see, someone like yourself have to take on the responsibility of like a gasoline on a spark that we had of an idea,
Mhm.
right? It just means two things. One, I think you're obviously really good at what you do,
Thank
right? We're a great marketer and a great coach, getting great results, and people come to us, right? At the same time, it's also great to realize the downfalls that come with that sometimes, right?
you.
I know you're a big advocate in mentors and hiring people to help you move that needle. And I'm assuming you can say that if you didn't have those mentors in place, it would be even more chaotic. I'm not sure know what
Oh,
to do, right?
100%. 100%.
So what was your biggest takeaway whenever you come to realization that I am running from my issues by diving into work?
Like, when did I find that out, or what is the big
When it
takeaway that I got
hit,
it? Yeah.
what did you get from it? When you had the
Um,
realization of like, oh my God, this is what I'm doing.
mhm. Well, that's a good question. I think the realization was like, again, a double-edged sword. I'm the type of person where, and I'm working on it, I don't feel my emotions. Which is like, screw it, let's just work.
Sure.
I don't want to feel these things. But you are your own business and emotional stability is everything. For you to be able to identify why you are feeling a certain emotion allows you to take action and move on faster, which makes you just more efficient. So learning how to feel your emotions is a really, really great skill to have as an entrepreneur. So I still have that lag of, I feel this feeling and I don't know why.
Mm,
And the reason why I bring that up is because it's a double edged sword. I felt relief because I'm the type of person where if I find something, if you give me the answer or give me clarity, immediately I feel good. Like I'm a workhorse. You tell me what to do, I'll do it. It's fine. It's just that lag, that like the confusion of like, why do I feel this way? Why do I feel misaligned? Why do I want to light this on fire? Then finally learning that, oh, okay, cool. Past me was willing to do this much work. It was actually really quite fulfilling and it helped me cope with my emotions before. But current me, that does not serve me. So there's the misalignment. So I felt relief from identifying that emotion, but then like a little bit of guilt of like, how did I not see that before? That seems pretty obvious. Nobody wants to be working 24/7 all day, every day. Like, how did I not identify that beforehand before it got to the point where I did want to light things on fire? And there was a misalignment with my identity, and my staff saw that as well. So it was, again, a little bit of relief, a little bit of guilt, or a lot of guilt, to be honest with you. But then it followed with the emotion of, oh shit, how do I fix this? I didn't know. And it's different for everybody. Like you said before, like everybody's driven by different things. And
Yeah.
I like to use the analogy of like, it's like dieting. I'm a nutrition coach. Like I'll use that as an analogy a lot. It's like dieting. People try to find different strategies of how to get the results and keep it. But it's not a one size fits all, because everybody is going to be completely different on how they want to do things. Their non-negotiables, how they want to live their life, how much time they want to be spending in it too. And it's neither good or bad. It's just what serves the person. So it's the same thing with building a business. It's not as simple as, oh, here's A, B, and C. Go do it. It's all like a bunch of gray. And it's like, go figure it out yourself. And you're like, shit, just tell me the answer. Just like a lot of clients are just like, shit, like, I just want you to tell me the answer. And
Tell
we're
me
like,
what to
we
eat and I'll
can't.
do it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like,
I
it's not
think
that simple.
I think what you said hits home a lot for a lot of entrepreneurs. And it's funny because Paul actually just made a post today. And we want this roadmap that says, here, this is exactly what you need to do, and you're going to make $1 million. And it's like, well, not necessarily. Right. And I think that someday, I mean, I have this too. I'm just like, I wish just somebody would tell me what I need to do today so I can just not think and do. Right. When you give me a meal plan, I don't even think about it. I just do it.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing about it, and this is Paula's post, essentially, just because you tell somebody what to do doesn't mean they're learning why they need to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
100%.
And so for myself, I try to get a lot of coaches and business owners to understand is that if you don't know the why, then you can't be creative. You can't work yourself out of a tough situation because what you're doing is still beating this path. And maybe you need to take a little bit of a left turn and get back on this road. And we keep thinking, okay, I'm going to keep doing these same things because they used to work. Well, now they're not. And it's like, those are the days you beat your head against the wall going, man, I wish somebody would just tell me a different map that should work. Right.
Yeah.
And I relate a lot of things to fitness as well, obviously being my background and being our niche, is that I devise things into tactic categories to create an overall strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Like keto, good tactic, fasting tactic, meal plan tactic, right? All these different types of diets, names, carnivore, etc., are different tactics. That doesn't necessarily mean it's the best long-term strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Doing a show, getting lean, that's a tactic. Doesn't mean that's necessarily a lifetime strategy. So what happens when you stop following that paper? You stop following these rules that were inside this little box. Then what happens? Well, you didn't learn why you were eating those foods. You just did what you were told. And I think that the education behind coaching is what makes a difference in those long-term results.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think the same thing goes for business, right? Applications, tactic, comment below, tactic, DM me, tactic, Facebook group, tactic. They work, but not forever.
Mm-hmm.
You have to come up with a constantly different tactics to build an overall strategy. And if you're not 100% sure what I'm talking about, for those that are listening, look at an e-commerce website, a brand, right? They don't do the same sell every Black Friday. They don't do the same sell every Labor Day, Memorial Day, or 4th of July, or whatever it may be. They're constantly changing up those things because we need to speak to different audiences in a different way, just like different diets speak to different people, just like different coaches speak to different people. You word things differently, etc. So building an overall strategy in life, I think, is a good tactic to take. So how did you get into coaching before it just blew up?
Oh, it's a long story. I'll try to keep it short. I got into coaching after my own journey of trying to figure out my way out of being extremely overweight and struggling with an eating disorder. I also, in my own journey, struggled with borderline alcoholism, and was in an abusive relationship and struggled with anxiety and depression. So it's just the extreme yo-yo dieter where I try to hate myself into the body and then I'd gain it back and then some. And again, like Casey does not like to feel her feelings, so she copes with other things. It was at first food and alcohol. Now it's overworking myself. It's fine. We're growing. But in my own journey of trying to find trying to get on the other side of digging myself out of this hole that I just kept digging myself into and going down a really dark path in life, I found a community through fitness that saved me. It was through CrossFit. And whether people are fans of CrossFit is beside the point. The one thing that they do really well with is community.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of the reasons why I love community so much. And it completely changed my life. Like just being surrounded by people that truly cared about me, just to care about me, not if I could help them get drunk or have a good time or anything like that. It was, they just wanted the best out of me. They like called me out on my shit when I was like, I can never do that. And they're like, bullshit, go do it. Like they dared me to dream. And yeah, like I was doing really cool things in the gym. I lost over 50 pounds. I was doing things like climbing ropes and pull-ups and bar muscle ups and all these different things I never thought I would do in a million years. And it also led me to some really great opportunities in life. Like I competed in weightlifting for about 5 years full time. I literally lived in the gym and got to meet people all over the world and got to compete for Team USA one time. It's not that big of a deal, but it's kind of my claim to fame.
Hang on. Hang on.
Okay, so there's a
I'm
difference.
not going to let somebody discredit when they get to put Team USA in front of it and say not that big a deal. Because it is a big a deal, which is why you have to stop and tell people, hey, it's not that big a deal. Because I think that you might struggle with taking compliments. Because which is actually going to lead me down a different path here, but I'll let you finish.
But the big thing that came out of it is that I just became a whole different person mentally. Like that was a big thing that still gives me chills today. And like I actually wanted more for myself. I stopped tolerating people treating me like crap. I started caring about who I surrounded myself with and how I treated my body. And like it's like one of those things where you learn life skills through fitness of like doing something hard and achieving something you never thought possible. And that translates into everything in life. And you're like, what else is possible for me? So I wanted to change people's lives for the better. I wanted everybody to go through what I went through. I mean, we could go more in depth of my past journey of like actually trying to learn and the ups and downs in that and why we do things at Thriving Honest specifically. But that's the main reason why I'm here is I used to coach a therapist actually. And he said something to me that sticks to this day. And he said, Casey, a lot of times people jump into this like any type of job where you're trying to help people grow in any way, whether it's through therapy, nutrition, fitness, whatever have it. It's usually because you see yourself in other people and you're trying to fix yourself in other people. Like you just want to help people. You see people struggling like you and you don't want them to struggle like you because you felt it. And so you want to help people not feel the things that you feel. So that's my core driver. Like each person has their own core driver. It could be money. It could be contribution. It could be recognition, what have it. Mine is like it's contribution. I just literally just want to see people win. So that's the big reason why I became a coach. So
I love it.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, I'd like to roll back the clock.
Yeah, of course.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Omaha, Nebraska, smack dab in the middle of the United States.
Nice.
Yeah.
And how would you describe your childhood?
I didn't grow up with a lot of money. And my parents weren't perfect, but they were extremely loving. They taught me the value of hard work. They taught me the value of never giving up. I mean, I went through my own turmoils of being extremely shy and very socially awkward and overcoming that kind of stuff. But I actually am pretty proud of how I was raised and all that stuff. I will say I was a little bit of a sheltered Midwest girl.
Okay.
So I was
right.
Definitely.
Were either one of your parents a perfectionist?
No, not really. Oh, actually, no. Um, my mom is like one of the most hardworking people I've ever met. So she's not a perfectionist, but she does not settle for excuses. It's like who care? Like both of my parents are like that. They're very much clear cut. Is like you put the work in. I
Yeah.
don't care how you feel because I don't feel like doing anything too, and I still show up because I this is very much about integrity. You do
Yeah.
it because it's what's right and you work hard and life isn't perfect or easy. And they made that clear from a very young age that if I ever told you that life was supposed to be easy and things were supposed to be handed to you, like you're being lied to. You're supposed to work
Absolutely.
hard. Things are supposed to be tough. So I grew up with some pretty tough parents. I love them for it though. So
Absolutely. And your story relates to me a lot because I'm kind of in those same shoes
mhm,
to some degree. And I always struggled with being enough, I think, in the eyes of my dad.
mhm.
Did you ever feel like you were not ever hitting the mark?
Okay, so it wasn't my parents. Um, so growing up, one of the reasons why I struggled with getting out of my box and like self confidence and things like that was I had an older brother that love him to death, and he did not mean to do this. He was just being him. But like I was the younger sister, he was the star athlete. Everybody loved him. He had six
Mm.
pack abs, most popular person, and here I am, chubby little geeky Casey that could barely even speak, like enough for my parents to be like therapy question mark, like you don't talk to anybody. And all I wanted to do was get out of his shadow. That's all I want.
Mm.
I just wanted somebody to notice me, not be his little sister. I wanted to be as talented as him. I wanted to be as athletic as him. I wanted to be as popular as him, but I was just shy little Casey. So
Do you ever dabble, or have you ever dabbled with anything like breath work?
I have. hmm
Okay. Have you ever taken the little child or like inner child journeys?
I have not yet. Um, so I know you know Jared Hamilton. He's my best friend.
Yeah.
He's really
Absolutely.
big on that.
Hmm.
So him and I have had like deep conversations about that. Um, but I have not taken the journey yet. I will. But
I think you
Casey's
should.
just learning how to feel her emotions right now. So step by step.
Hey, and
Yeah.
you know what? I'm like super proud of you for stepping into that because I
Yep.
know, take it from me, it's not easy. But also to the willingness and openness to want to do that because for me, I went through a divorce, started seeking out a breath coach,
Mhm.
Brendan Grew, um, and I remember the first time I did breath work, I wasn't in a great place coming out of divorce. Obviously, it's like tough,
Been there.
and they did this practice towards the end of it, and I'm like just freaking bawling, right? And the thing about it, when it comes to that kind of stuff, they don't tell you what to think about. You're already thinking about those things.
Mhm.
And when you're doing restorative breath work or deep breath work, it essentially is pulling every emotion out of you.
Mhm.
Now they don't guide the emotion. It's all on you, right? And they went through 3 phases. And if you would care to do them with me, at least we could think about them.
Okay.
Um, I found it so fascinating. But he said, as we're laying on the mats on the ground in a dark room, he said, I want you to picture the little version of you, 6, 7, 8 years old. And I want you to look at that child and tell them that you're proud of them. And I was like, not a big deal. I could do that. And then he said, now I want you to listen and let that child say it back to you. And I lost it
Mhm.
because I've always struggled with being proud, being enough.
Mhm.
Always have to be better, 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 better. Hence, like business number 4, right?
Mhm.
Always working, 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 running from something, running towards something. And I thought it was so fascinating as when we did a high school version and then like a present day version. But we never really sit with our thoughts and think about so long ago. But the truth is that who you are today is made up of not just what happened in the last year or the last 4, but it's really like the entire lifespan.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's super neat and cool that like you're diving into that, because I've gone through therapists and breath work and counselors, or whatever you want to name it, because I would say ever since I turned 31, I'm 34 now,
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeking the best version of me. That doesn't necessarily mean financially. That doesn't necessarily mean in the best shape. That means when I wake up, is Mike happy today? Yes or no?
Mm-hmm.
Is Mike working towards a big goal that makes him happy, or is he doing somebody else's goal and what society says you should do?
Yeah.
Right. And so I think it's neat that you're doing that. And if no one's told you, I'm proud of you for stepping into that, because I know it is not
Thank
easy
you.
to do so.
Yeah. It ain't, but it's worth it. 100%.
Let's change directions here.
Yeah, of course.
How many clients have you worked with?
Myself?
Yourself, the team, just like as a whole. I know that's not like an easy number to put on, but just give me a ballpark.
We have had upwards to 160 clients total, which is a lot for us.
You're talking about on roster.
Yeah, on
I'm
roster.
talking about lifespan of the company.
Lifespan of the company? I have no fucking idea. Because when I first started, I didn't know to keep track of numbers. I knew nothing about that.
Yeah.
So I have no idea. I know close to 1,000 people so far in the past couple of years have come
That's
into
awesome.
our roster and service. And I've coached people on and off for a while. So quite a few.
Which brings me to my next question, I think is going to be interesting for you.
Mm-hmm.
Is what is your biggest takeaway that a client has taught you?
I think the biggest thing is that biggest lesson I've learned through coaching clients is that I'm in no position to tell people what they should or should not want with their nutrition fitness. Like when I first started, I projected my own wants and needs to other people. Like, you should be meal prepping this way because this is what I did. You should be eating this way. You should be eating 4 to 5 meals a day. And over a course of a period of time, like I swear, when I first started, I wish I could just give my money back to help. I'm sorry, clients, when you first started with me, because all I did was project my own emotions and my own perspective of life and how people should or should not be living it, rather than just listening and asking them what they want. What do they need? How do they want to live their life? I eat 4 meals a day. Maybe somebody wants to eat 2. Who cares? If they're happier, they're healthier, moving the needle in the right direction, who cares what I want or what I think I would do and things like that? It has nothing to do with it. I'm irrelevant. I think the job of a coach is more asking questions rather than telling. That's a big lesson that I've learned the hard way, which a lot of coaches do as well, is that, again, it's not about what you want. It's not about your own current perspective in life of how people should or should not live. It's about asking the right types of questions and allowing the client to tell you that and just guiding them to that answer themselves. So,
isn't it funny that the teacher is the one that listens the most?
mm-hmm.
I think the good teachers do, right? Because you can't really understand what somebody's going through unless you listen.
Exactly.
And I know when I first started training people at 19 years old in the gym, and as an avid bodybuilder and did 12 shows before the age of 24, I was like, everybody needs to be shredded.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized, like, hey, Susan, that's 42, don't give a shit about being shredded. She wants to go to Lululemon and try on clothes and not be depressed and walk out because she doesn't like the way it fits.
Mm-hmm.
She wants to be able to take photos with her friends on Taco Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's like the perspective switch of the kid who, again, same thing, projecting what it is you want onto somebody else versus just listening and building a program to fit their lifestyle,
Mm-hmm.
their wants, their likes, their needs, their family.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a really good one. I think every single coach of any industry listening, listen more.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of the lessons my dad taught me growing up was you got 2 ears for a reason. and only
Yep.
one mouth.
Exactly.
However, as the jokester growing up, I didn't take that in until probably like 27. It took me a long time to learn those lessons. But what are you currently doing inside your personal fitness career?
Oh, good question. I am for the first time in my life, I'm not an athlete. I've been an athlete since I was 9 years old. I've been beating up my body a lot, and I've learned how to fuel myself as an athlete. I've also coached high level athletes, specifically weightlifting and like CrossFit, because that was what I had
Mm-hmm.
experience in. I've also coached like college and professional athletes as well, like rugby and things like that. But um, I just come to a place in my life where I've spent my whole life being an athlete. I know what it's like, but what is it like to be a person that has other drivers and wants outside of athletic performance or the gym? I always joke with my clients. I'm like, dude, everybody thinks that I'm just like this meathead that gym is life. And I was like, gym is not freaking life. Is it a tool to help me feel great and think great so I can be a really great coach to you and build a business so I can make bigger impact in people's lives? 100%. But it's not life. And that was like when I said that out loud, I was like, huh, cool. I can say that now. I'm no longer like a meathead athlete. That's great. So I'm just trying to feel good. I'm also sorting through some hormonal issues that stemmed from just overtraining and undereating. I was a
Mm-hmm.
weight class athlete, and I just got like you'll see some weight class athletes get that bug where they're just cut happy. They're just like cut and cut because each time you cut, you're slightly more competitive, and
Yeah.
so you do it too much, and there you
Yeah.
go. So I'm on
Obviously,
the other
especially in the
side.
women's side, that's a
Yeah,
big deal. Get your fats
yeah.
in, ladies.
100%. Stop dieting. Just eat the food and get really, really strong. That's how you get good. Just build muscle, get strong. Don't diet. Do that long enough. You'll stay in the game longer than anybody else. And that's when you win. So, but
Makes sense.
unfortunately, I learned that lesson the hard way. So I help other people not make the same mistakes that I made. But yeah, it's just living my life, running a business that takes up most of my time and just trying to be healthy. I'm like in the gym like 3 to 4 times a week, like 45 minutes at max. And I'm like, well, what is this? I have all this time on my hands. This is so great. So,
Yeah,
but
that
I do
sounds like
get the
me.
itch sometimes.
For sure, for sure. And um, did you have a moment in the past where you go, "This is no longer life"?
Yeah,
What was that
100%.
moment? Walk us through that.
Okay, so I'm very much about like the mindset, and one of the things that I always run my clients through is like the future self journaling prompt, because it just creates very objective clarity of where you're going.
Mm-hmm.
If you keep acting like the person you are right now, you will stay where you're at. You have to act like the future person, right? And so I do that journaling prompt quite often myself. And sometimes that comes with a time audit of like, this is what I'm spending my time on. Would my future self do this? And the more and more I reflect on it, the more and more I identified as more of a business person that lived their life and traveled a lot. And so being an athlete no longer came with that. But um, when I did make that realization, that was kind of like an own personal like death, if that makes sense, or identity death. It's like, oh, I've been an athlete my whole life. Some of my closest friends ever are my teammates. If I stop competing, this means that I no longer will be in contact with them constantly. This means that I will have to take on a whole new identity. And again, my whole life I've been an athlete. So there was like actually quite a few months of a mourning period of like, who in the fuck am I outside of being an athlete? Like I had no idea. And so that was a bit of a growth transition. That was fun, but well worth it. Even though it was scary because there's just so much uncertainty of that, I'm on the other side of like, again, the steps of feeling more aligned with who I want to be, doing that trial and error and figuring that out. I've opened up doors to become really great friends with other people that fill up my cup, and now I can take a Friday night like I am tonight and go to Trader Joe's and buy some pizza stuff and drink a glass of wine and not give a shit because I don't
God,
have to
aren't
train
we
for 3 days,
aren't
3
we
hours the
old
next day.
now? Aren't we so old that your Friday
I
night
love it.
consists of wine and Trader Joe's?
I love it. It keeps me out of trouble. It's cheaper. I don't feel like shit. I get to sleep. Like, I
You know what's
love it.
funny is that our Friday night, we're also going to the grocery store tonight. That's
Yep.
so funny. So actually, I had the same moment of
Yeah.
the switch from who I was. And I wasn't an athlete. I was an athlete, but I fell in love with bodybuilding in the middle of trying to go to college to play baseball.
Mhm.
And I realized I got injured in baseball and I picked up weightlifting, and my uncle was a bodybuilder. And I fell in love with weightlifting more than baseball.
Mhm.
And my dad had just spent money on like helping me get an agent to essentially try to get a scholarship, right? And I got hurt. I had a bone bruise in my knee and a torn oblique in my senior year.
Mm.
And I didn't try to come back and play. I just stayed on the injured reserve list and just kept going to the gym and would skip the baseball practice to go work out.
Mhm.
And it became my life. I loved it. It's how I got attention, right? The ego set in, et cetera, et cetera. Like insert traditional high school guy.
Yeah.
And then I got into bodybuilding, and then I got up to about 263 pounds.
Damn. Sorry.
That's about 45 pounds heavier than I am now. I'm not like the smallest guy now, but I loved it. It was like who I was. It was my entire identity. It was the guy that goes to the grocery store and gets asked 3 different questions. Why you eating so many eggs? You gonna eat all that? You having a party with all that chicken? Like, you just name it. How much you bench? You eat a lot of protein? Like, I remember making reels 10 years ago. I say reels, Facebook videos at the time, and all the things that would get asked. But yeah, if you want to find some funny videos, go back on my old Facebook page. You will see some Alabama accent videos, and they're quite embarrassing, but I'm leaving them up just to show how long I've been doing this. But I remember walking up the stairs, and I dated an Italian girl at the time, and I would go to their house every weekend, and I would just stuff my face with as much food as I can eat. I remember this specific day. It was like pasta, of course, and it was Hawaiian rolls with ham and cheese and butter on top. And I was eating as many of them as I could. I walk up the stairs, sweat's rolling down my back. With every step, a new bead of sweat rolling down. I get to the top and go, and I thought to myself, what are you doing? Like, this is not fun. And then at the time, the girl I was dating come up, tried to give me a kiss, had to take a break because I'd catch my breath from walking up the stairs.
Mhm.
I was like, I'm over it.
Yeah.
I remember I did not go to the gym the next day. And I immediately just hung up the bodybuilding career like that night at the top of the stairs, and then went right into jiu-jitsu.
Mm.
Of course, because I
Nice.
wasn't going to deal with any of the things that were making me run from anything. I was just going to dive into the next project. So I'm full bore, 3 and 4, 5 days at the mats in jiu-jitsu, go into a competition there and tear a pec, which infuriates me because as somebody that's lifting hundreds and hundreds of pounds in tonnage every single week, and then I go wrestle with some dude on the mat in a tournament and tear my pec is just the most infuriating thing ever. And I remember realizing I'm never going to be the same. You are no longer going to be that guy. You're never longer going to be the guy. You're no longer going to ever be over 240 or 50 pounds again. And as you talked about the depressive state, like, man, it was terrible. I quit my job. I moved back home from New York to Alabama and started lifting again, 3 or 4 months later. And it was a slow grind of like getting out of that depression and trying to do something new. And I'm very lucky that I had a guy who was actually one of my best friend's dad. I had dinner with him, and he said, Mike, you made a big mistake. I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, you shouldn't have moved back here. I was like, what do you mean? He goes like, you're too big for this place. You've seen too much. You've got to move and move now. And then I think it was 4 or 6 weeks later, I moved to LA,
Nice.
or Huntington Beach, rather.
Mm.
He's like, get out of here, go to Nashville, go to LA, go somewhere, but don't stay
Mhm.
here. Don't get caught in this rat race of this small town like so many people do. You have bigger ambitions than working a 9 to 5. Go.
Mhm.
And that's probably the best advice I'd ever gotten in a place where I needed it the most. And the one thing I can take from that is that I think there's a lot of people listening that you don't have to stay where you're at in your location, in your mindset, in your health, and what you see in the mirror. Like, if you're not happy, you can change. It's just your choice whether you want to make the change or not.
Mhm.
It just takes a little bit of risk to do so. But I think that's one thing that I've never really struggled with, was wondering, am I going to figure it out? Now, I'm also curious, in your position, did you ever worry or struggle with any type of risk taking?
Oh no. If
Just
anything,
all
I was
in.
extremely reckless with it. Like for example, when I first started my business, legit, all I had was an air mattress on the floor and what I could afford at. It wasn't even Dollar Tree. It was like we lived in my ex and I moved to Houston on a whim. Just fucking packed everything up, sold a bunch of shit, moved into a hotel that was really shitty for about a month. I remember people trying to break into the hotel and things like that too. Um, and then moved into a really shitty apartment. And I thought, fuck it, I'm gonna start my own business. And I just poured money that I didn't have. And then it happened again. Like I took a risk. I had a full time corporate job and I was so unfulfilled with it. I sold booze and like I mean I drink, but not that often.
Sure.
And so I was just like so misaligned and miserable. I quit that. I didn't give a shit. I quit it, and I eventually actually after the pandemic I got hit hard with my business, and so did my ex. So we had to move into my parents' house. I did. It doesn't bother me because I've been in a position where I was safe and I had everything everybody's supposed to have with the corporate job. And for some people, that's great for them and they're super fulfilled with that. And I'm not knocking that. But for me, definitively, for me to be happy, that's the number one thing. Like, that's something that I tell my boyfriend because he's chasing after his dreams. I was like, I'd rather wake up every single day, penny pitching, knowing that you are fulfilled and you're going after everything that you've ever wanted in life and you can hang your hat on how you lived your life than living comfortably but living with a shell of a person every single day. So I know, like, I'm pretty reckless with some of the things that I do. I mean, I try to make good decisions and not just do it just for the sake of it, but risk taking is never been something that I've ever been worried about. I am fortunate enough to have amazing people in my corner to help me. Like, my parents have always been super helpful and helped me out of tight situations. I've also have great friends and mentors too. So I will say that I am fortunate to have that, but
For all you those that are
full send.
listening, what she just said about her spouse is true love, because it's much easier to tell somebody to take the easy route that might make more money. But when you've gone through it and you're not fulfilled and you're not happy, you'd rather sleep on a blanket on the ground than to wake
100%.
up every day and hate walking out of the door.
Yep. I've been there. I've been in a marriage with somebody, and I love him to death. He is the best person. We just grew apart. We wanted two different things in life and we are making each other miserable. And like, we saw that. I've been in those situations where you're just doing something, you're extremely unfulfilled and you just become a shell of a person. You're 10 times more miserable than going after what you want and being a little bit scared every single day. And growth doesn't happen from being safe, being in your comfort zone. It happens when you take a chance, you jump off a cliff, like no way out. So that's what drives me. That's the way that I'd rather live my life. Um, and something that I heard from Hermosi that I say to myself all the time is the only way that you could ever fail is if you just quit.
Mm.
Because something will always happen. Statistically, if you just keep doing something, it will click. Something will happen, but it never will if you just sit on your butt and do nothing. So that usually comforts me when I feel a little scared. I'm like, just don't quit. Just don't quit. Something will happen. Just keep going. And so that's what helps me get through that.
15 years ago, I was talking to a client when I used to train in person, and I don't know where it came from. And I told them, I was like, I need you to get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And like, that's the only way you're actually going to move forward. And, you know, the Hermosi piece, I think that's so true. And it actually rung another idea that I heard, I guess, probably 2 weeks ago. And it said that building a successful business is easy. Becoming the man it takes to build the business is really hard.
Exactly.
And that's where the
Yes.
years come into play,
Mhm.
because building a business is technically not that difficult to make a living for yourself. But becoming the person it takes to be able to handle the stress, the failures, to get up every day and put in the work, to not hit the snooze button, right? So anything that you want to essentially achieve is possible. It's just, are you able and willing, and are you ready? I think that's the biggest thing. Are you ready
Mhm.
to do what it takes to get there?
100%. There's so much self growth through running your own business. Like, for those of you listening, if you're like, I want to run a business or I'm in the middle of it, you will grow so much as a person. You will be uncomfortable 24/7. One of my mentors told me this is like, you are the limitation of your business.
Mm-hmm.
Your current knowledge, skills that you have, what you say yes to, what you say no to, what you prioritize, everything that you are is the make or break of your business. So if you want your business to be successful, you need to get better as a person. There's no external circumstances to blame. It's you. You are the make or break. And that really did help me dive into that, is like, you got to get uncomfortable. You're going to grow. So
What's the next thing for Casey Miller? What's her future?
I will say I don't know. And it's not from lack of effort of trying, because I'm definitely one of those people that, like, you need an end goal. It's like, if you don't, it's kind of like putting in the navigation. I don't know, pick a spot. And it's like, you can go to wherever you want clarity so you can get there faster. But I think the reason why I say I don't know yet is because there's been so much change in my own personal life and in who I am, just in the past, frick, 6 months alone. But this past year is probably the most I like to say, evolved
Mm-hmm.
as a person or grown as a person. That I'm in a position where I don't know what's the possibility. So it's like, you don't know what you don't know. But some things that I've been thinking about is just like, right now for the next couple of years, is with this transition of getting more clarity of how I want to run Thriving On and the possibilities of that, I'm going to pour into that. Do I think that's going to be the above all be all for me, period? I don't think so. I think that getting more into other areas of maybe investments, realty, all these different other things of just personal growth. Maybe I'll find something that I get really geeky about. I've got ADHD. I could get obsessive over anything at a snap of a finger. So it's a
Yes.
really, I don't know, but all I know is going to be a lot of still continuing that personal growth, because I do have a lot of growing to do as a person. Exploring what I do or do not want, enjoying the current life that I have, and figuring out from there what will or will not work. And we'll figure it out. So,
I'm gonna ask you a random question.
of course.
What do you feel like is the biggest mistake you made in your life?
Mm,
We're getting deep today.
yeah, that's okay. I like those conversations. I'm definitely one of those people that does not like small talk. If we get to the deep shit like this is where I'm like, okay, we can talk now. That's fine. Um, Biggest mistake that I think that I've made, and I've made a lot, right? But like, mistakes that I've regretted. The mistake that I've regretted is the time where I blamed outside circumstances. And this was before that whole transition of finding fitness and learning I could do hard things. For the long time, for years, I was stuck in this pit of like just digging myself in a deeper, deeper hole.
Hmm.
But in my perspective at the time, I just blamed everything else. It's like, these people are treating me this way. I'm shy. What do you expect? This is just who I am, right? Like, just these
Mm,
self-limiting beliefs and blaming external circumstances. One of the things that really did completely transform my life is what I call learning how to be the hero of my own story. Um, what I was doing during that time is becoming the damsel in distress. I needed somebody to save me. There's outside circumstances and I was stuck. And I didn't realize that, like, I wasn't really a damsel in distress. I was just creating this narrative in my mind. I was actually the person that had the power to create change. And so once I actually learned that, that's when things started changing, because you've got to take ownership of your situation. Like, do I think that it was my own fault to that I was in an abusive relationship? Not inherently, but it is my problem. It is my responsibility to find a solution out of it, right? Or my poor relationship with food and things like that. Like, I don't necessarily am like, that's your fault. It's just, it's part of my journey. But it was 100% my responsibility to solve that, to be the hero of my own story. And it took me a very long time to realize that. And sometimes I do wish that I just did get like a knock up beside the head of like, dude, like, make some change. But even then, I don't regret it. And that's because I'm really big about the phrase amor fati. I actually want a tattoo of it pretty soon. The love of fate. And it's just stating the fact that there's neither good or bad. There's no need to label things. It just is. It's part of your journey.
mm.
And it's up to you to decide whether or not that's going to help you grow as a person, or are you going to choose to let it, like, dig you a deeper hole, kind of like I was before. So I don't regret it, because it made me who I am. It made me to this where I'm at, where I have an awesome business that I truly love, and I can see some amazing things that are happening with our clients that I don't see a lot out there. And I have people on staff that are way smarter than me in this, making amazing changes in people's lives. And then they also feel fulfilled in what they're doing, and they're creating a life with what they're truly passionate about. And I've been the most fulfilled I've ever been as of right now. So that wouldn't have happened without my royal screw ups and that whole process. So,
How many people you work with that come to you that have that damsel in distress mindset?
hmm. Honestly, not a lot lately.
Do you think that maybe that is because if you're in that mindset, you're not ready to make the change?
Yeah, 100%.
How does
Because you,
somebody go from that mindset to reframing it to wanting to actually set themselves up to be ready to make the change?
um, I'll be honest with you, there's a lot of people that won't ever learn that lesson, and that's unfortunate, because it does require them to have to get out of their comfort zone, and also just being real, like, your external circumstances, like your community, the people that are surrounding you, your environment really does influence your ability to make change. So some people don't have that access to people that are going to push them and rethink things. So I think that's a big thing, is just like, once you get surrounded by the right type of people that can knock you upside the head, you screw up a couple times, but then you learn how to keep promises to yourself and that you can actually create change. I think that's one thing that I do talk about a lot with people, is like, when people come to me, they are like, I lack discipline. It's my fault, willpower, things like that. But our type of people that we work with are very goal oriented people. They have undeniable proof that they are extremely disciplined. They're intelligent. They want to do this. So that's not the problem. The problem is that they're doing unsustainable methods, or they're working with people that honestly don't know what they're doing. And so they're setting up for this cycle of, I'm making a promise to myself, but I do not have what I need to keep that promise. So I feel like I'm falling short.
Mm.
Therefore, I'm stuck. So then they feel like, hey, like, maybe it's my fault, maybe it's external circumstances. That's typically the people that we're working with. And when we shed the light of like, no, you're disciplined. You can do this. We believe in you. You just need the right tools and the right guidance to be able to actually keep those promises, and that will translate. So it's more than likely going to be, if you want to learn how to go from being a damsel in distress to being the hero of your own story, you're going to have to go through the process of hitting rock bottom and no longer wanting this for yourself. More than likely, if you're like me, you have to hit rock bottom. And then you have other people surrounding you to show you that they believe in you and that you are capable. And hopefully, you're fortunate enough to have people in your corner to teach you how to keep promises to yourself and develop that confidence that you can be the hero of your own story. And then that plus time, that will create that process of going from a damsel in distress to being truly the hero of your own story in all facets of life. So
I think it was very well put.
thank you.
What is the biggest takeaway you want people to get from you?
Biggest takeaway. Just go for it. Like whatever you want in life, whatever lights a fuel underneath your butt, whatever you want to go for, it's not worth going for if it doesn't scare the shit out of you. So if you're feeling scared, anxious, good, lean into it, go for it. Because again, just like I said with my significant other, I would rather him go through life always going after what he wants and feeling really fulfilled that he chased after his dreams rather than being with somebody that feels extremely unfulfilled in a shell of a person. Because that does impact me and impacts everybody around them. So it's the same thing with you. You deserve to live your life. People also around you deserve to see your best self because you're doing what's fulfilling. Yes, it's scary. Yes, it'll be fucking hard. Yes, you'll have ups and downs. Yes, you'll have royal fuck ups like mine. Sometimes you have to take 10 steps to move 20 steps forward. But in the long run, it's 100% worth it. So just go for it.
I'm a big fan of taking action.
Yeah.
Big fan.
Imperfect action. It does not have to be perfect.
No, you just got to be moving in the right direction. You need to be moving. And then as you move, you'll learn which way is the right direction, which way is not.
Exactly. 100%.
Right on. All right, last question for you.
Yeah, of course.
Do you love to win or hate to lose?
Oh, I hate it when people ask me that question because I get so confused. Okay, no. Actually, I think I have an answer. I love to win.
Okay, explain.
Because losing sometimes can be extremely advantageous and teach you how to win long term. Like any successful person that you talk to, it's almost like a bragging right of how much they fucked up a lot. They're like, I fucked up 150 times. Like for example, a lot of the inventions, they had 150 fuck ups before they finally hit that one. And that one just made them so much money. So I'm not a fan of losing, but I understand losing is actually really great for you long term. I love winning. So I hope that's a good I think that's a good answer for me. So
right on. Well, I appreciate it so much, Casey. It was a pleasure having you on, getting to know, I think, a lot of the backstory that maybe people don't get to hear about who makes you who you are and the backstory that makes who the successful person has become and how they got there. I think oftentimes, in my belief, and I heard somebody say this, is that nothing great that's accomplished in life doesn't come without a little bit of drama. You got to be proving something to somebody, whether that's yourself or somebody else, to achieve things past the normal. And I think it's very clear that you've done that. And so congratulations to all that. And I continue and look forward to seeing your success. So again, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me on, Mike. This was a lot of fun. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
My biggest takeaway podcast.